What's going on, everyone? Welcome into Blazers Uprise Live. Today, the Blazers had a press conference, or as they otherwise called it, a conversation between the media and new GM Joe Cronin. I keep thinking it's Jim for some reason. I need to make sure I keep saying Joe. Joe Cronin, head coach Chauncey Billups, which was the most tenured member in this conversation, in this press conference, because the third guy was new CEO Dwayne Hankins. So overall, a lot of new faces, three guys that were not with the organization this time last year. They discussed a number of different things. We're going to touch on them all today. It was a pretty laid back and enjoyable press conference, and that was reflected on Twitter, man. I think the days of freaking out at press conferences on Twitter are over. Are you happy about that, or are you going to miss that a little bit?
A couple months ago, why didn't Olshey do more stuff like this? Like every time we had a press conference, it was because we lost in the playoffs or we fired the coach or he was defensive and abrasive, like right off the bat, like going into the press conference. He never really spoke in like a time where it was a positive or he could just like talk with people, you know? It was always like good or not good, but like what after a trade maybe sometimes it was okay, but like a lot of the times it was like you knew he was going to get drilled with some tough questions and he just came across so poorly, and I don't understand why he didn't do something like this more often or do more interviews to get just a little bit more, I don't know, like laid back approach and have a chill thing where you're not being defensive about it.
Yeah, but also, I mean, just knowing his personality,
Right.
he would have had to. I don't know. I don't know if it would have came across that much better in this sort of setting. It would have been interesting to see Olshey in this sort of setting, but I mean, that's on Olshey for not doing it.
To me, this is how they should have handled the Billups press conference. They should have just sat there and let everyone ask their questions. I said it that day too. I think that was a major misstep, just not handling it like this. If they would have had them just sitting up there and allowed all the questions like they did today, I think they would have been a lot better off for it.
Yep. We'll give our takeaways on some of the things that were said during the press conference. But first, we got to get to picks against the spread. There's only 3 games today. Here are the updated standings. As far as last Monday goes, I did the best, 8-3. Zach and Trevin went 7-4. Jackson, Reese, Eric, and Chat went 5-6, and then Chris went 2-9. So it's pretty packed in terms of the top 5, all within 4 games. Goes down by a game each rank. I've been feeling good, Eric. I wish we had more games to pick today because I feel like I have momentum finally. I'm gunning for Jackson. Somebody got to knock off Jackson because I think he was on top after the first stream of the year. So it would be nice to see him knocked down from that top rung. Trevin's only a game back, so if Trevin has a good today, it could be him. Trevin passed up Reese for second. Anyway, let's jump into the first game, and while you say the injuries, Eric, I'm going to turn on my background light because it's too dark in here.
All right, so Utah Jazz don't have anyone of significance on their injury report. The 76ers are, of course, without Ben Simmons and Grant Riller, but looks like they have their normal starting lineup minus Simmons. So we got Maxey, Curry, Green, Tobias Harris, and Embiid all playing tonight, and that's their starting lineup.
Okay, everybody but Simmons for Philly, and then who is out for Utah?
No one of significance.
Cool, awesome, a pretty healthy game, which is rare. I'll put poll in chat, and Chris sent me his picks. Let me open these up. Chris ends up going with the Jazz.
Reese and Zach are Jazz as well. Jackson Jazz. Both of these teams played yesterday too, so no advantage there because they're both on a back-to-back.
I don't know, man. I'm gonna go with Philly.
And you stole my thunder. I'm going Philly as well.
Alrighty. Zach went Utah.
Trevin
Phillies
went
played
Utah.
well when they're healthy, so at home and they're an underdog, I'll take that.
Yeah.
All right, chat. We got 15 votes. Get your votes in. We'll end chat poll in a second. As I said, only 3 games, so this is going to be a quick segment, and then we'll discuss the press conference. I'm not seeing any votes come in, so there we go. It's Jazz at about 60%. We could, honestly, at the end of this, we could do a poll for Double Down because there's only 3 options.
Yeah.
If you want to do that.
That's cool. Yeah.
All right. We'll do that at the end. Chat ends up going with the Utah Jazz. So me and Eric are alone with the Sixers here. Game number 2, we got
Has that
Memphis.
ever happened?
I think it's happened once or twice this season, but yeah, it's pretty rare. Last year it happened a lot more, but we had less participants. So this year that's pretty rare. The Lakers are going into Memphis, and they are a 4-point road favorite. There's some new injury. Well, it's not an injury, but some new developments on Memphis' side. Eric, what is the situation for this game?
Well, Dylan Brooks is just ruled out due to health and safety protocols. John Morant's also out. Brandon Clark out. Zaire Williams out. Sam Merrill out. And Kyle Anderson questionable. For the Lakers,
Wait, what was the second and third names you said? So many names, man. Oh my goodness.
Morant, Clark, Zaire
Morant,
Williams,
Brandon
Merrill,
Clark.
Brooks, all out.
Okay.
And Kyle Anderson questionable.
Okay.
And then for the Lakers, they're without none and Ariza still. Rondo questionable with an illness. LeBron and AD probable.
It's just always tough when there's a lot of players, and it'll be like notable player, then scrub, then notable player, then scrub, and I'm trying to like keep track of the rotation in my mind every time.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so the main ones are Morant and Brooks, obviously.
Yeah.
With Kyle Anderson, if he doesn't play, that'd be bad for them. And then Brandon Clark, who hasn't really been a huge part of their success lately, but
yeah. When I'm making the poll, I'm also trying to think of the rotation, and that's what I always struggle with. We got Zach going Lakers. We got Jackson going Lakers. We got Reese going Lakers.
I'm going to go Lakers as well. I was going to pick the Grizzlies until the Brooks being rolled out.
Yeah, I'm also going to go Lakers. Krish ended up going with the Grizzlies. Zach, we're not on the Spurs yet, my guy.
I forgot to mention the Grizzlies are on a back-to-back as well.
All right, Trevin's going Lakers. All right, we're going to end chat poll because chat is decidedly Lakers. We're going to do double down in a separate poll at the end since there's only 3 games. Let's move on. Oh, there goes Eric. I don't know where Eric went, but let's move on to game number 3. We got San Antonio. That was weird. Where'd you go? You good?
Yeah, I just didn't want to blow my nose on air. So.
Oh, okay. Well, you got the Spurs hosting the Nuggets. Spurs are 2-point home favorites.
So the Spurs are without Keldon Johnson and Zach Collins for this one. Devin Vassell is probable. And then for the Nuggets, they have Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr., Dozier, and Rivers all out. And Barton is probable. And the Nuggets are on a back-to-back.
Okay. Krish ended up going with the Spurs. I'm also going to go Spurs.
I'm going to guess Jackson's voting Spurs.
Reese is going Nuggets. Zach went Spurs prematurely. He said he had to go, so there we go.
Who's this double down, though?
Yeah, I don't know.
Ugh.
I mean, I am completely down to do a number between 1 and 3 and randomize it. We got Eric. What are you going with?
I'm gonna go with the Nuggets.
All right, Eric's going Nuggets. Waiting on Trevin and Jackson.
Yeah, Trevin. That was the game before.
Jackson goes Spurs. I don't know why he put it in all caps. Kind of aggressive. Trevin goes Denver. And then chat, we're going to end the poll here. Chat is 59% Denver, so we got a split vote, which is good, considering there's only 3 games. A split vote on the final game here. All right, time for double downs. I will make a chat poll for double downs. Eric, yeah, this poll is going to take a minute, so going to be some dead air from me.
Is Chris Grizzlies Island?
His double down was the Spurs.
Zach's is the Lakers.
Who did chat pick for the first game? They picked Utah. Okay.
Utah, yep.
Alright. You guys can scroll back and see the spreads while I post this poll. I'll do it once for you guys. You can double down on the Jazz, 3-point favorites on the road in Philadelphia. You can double down on... I never even put this in. They went Lakers here. You can double down the Lakers as 4-point favorites on the road in Memphis, or you can double down on the Nuggets, who are 2-point underdogs on the road in San Antonio. They went with the road teams for all 3 games. So that is the double down poll. Rare that we do a poll with like 3 options in it. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I kind of like it. I wish we could do like 10 options. I would just do this every time and it'd be very, it'd be fun, but unfortunately, we can't. Right now, it's a 40-40 tie. It's pretty evenly split, though. All right, so what are some of the double downs? We got Reese going with the Jazz. What are you going with, Eric?
I'm going to go with the Lakers as mine. So is Zach.
Alright, we got Zach in there. Chris ended up going with the Spurs.
Chief, and you're by far not the most hated in the community. I don't know why you'd say that.
What?
He says him and I don't mess with him anymore. No, that's not true. He's still my guy. I was very disappointed in you yesterday, though.
What did you do yesterday?
Oh, Bruce Eli had like a picture of, it was like Dennis Smith Jr., Norm Ant, and one of their Blazers, Snell or something like that. And Chiefin wrote like, who are these guys? Like, who is any of this? Like,
Chiefin has been letting me down lately, but you know, he can always bounce back.
Yeah,
I guess.
Like his game after all that talking he did. If you finally play him, it'll be a letdown too for him.
Yeah, I mean, but that's like to be expected. The Twitter stuff is a little bit more surprising. Don't hate him.
He's a casual.
Just disappointed. Just disappointed in him, man. Like, I expect better. Jackson goes Lakers. And then I'll end chat's poll and see what we got for chat. Let's double down. It's hard with only 3 games. We got 4 of us Lakers, Trevor Norris Jazz. And we're going to end chat poll. Chat is also Lakers. So,
all right.
It's just going to be interesting to see if anybody can go undefeated today. I mean, there's only 3 games to pick, so I assume somebody probably has to go undefeated. I mean, if the Grizzlies win, then probably not. But if the Lakers win, then somebody will probably go undefeated amongst these 3 games. So anyway, those are the double downs. Only 3 teams picked. That's picks against the spread. Good luck to everyone. Alrighty, so I'm gonna wait until Eric returns. I'm just gonna stall until Eric returns. So press conference. Let's just start off with. Do you even want to talk about Chauncey? Is there anything in this press conference that made you think, in regards to something that Chauncey said?
Yeah, let's just get that out of the way. I don't think there's anyone that's not buying in or that's completely against him or anything.
Yeah, I agree as well.
It
doesn't make sense.
Yeah. And then the other thing was kind of funny was that I had no idea, but Cronin is huge. That guy's. I saw a picture with him and Chauncey, and he towers over Chauncey. But apparently they played high school basketball against each other in the championship game. Chauncey's junior year, Chauncey beat Cronin's high school team. So. Yeah, they go way back. Chauncey freaking knows everyone, man. It's you just name the most random person that's associated with the NBA, and Chauncey will know him somehow and have some sort of relationship with him. It's really weird.
Yeah, yeah. So that's just funny. As far as Chauncey and the players, Chauncey's holding them more accountable. And it's easy to hear what he says in the media and think it's some big deal, but he's I guarantee you he's telling them the same thing privately.
Yeah.
So the only way you can have a problem with it as a player is if you don't think what he's saying is true, but he's not a guy he knows basketball.
Yeah.
He knows what he's seeing. He might not know exactly how to be a great coach yet, but he knows basketball. He can tell a lack of effort, a lack of energy with his team. So he's not the type to make that up either. So if you're a player and thinking what he's saying isn't true, then I question that specific player. The only other reason you might have a problem with it as a player is, you don't want this being said publicly. You don't want it being made public, but the whole public can see the team not giving energy and not giving effort. So if you care that much about the public not seeing you display a lack of effort, then give better effort on the court. Mm-hmm. So when coaches say comments like, my team is not playing with enough energy, my team is, I want our team to be more competitive, it's easy to look at that and think, there might be some tension. And there was a report that came out that there was tension, and Dame shot that down on Twitter. Dame is the leader of this team. I don't think Dame would have any tension with Chauncey holding players accountable. And as the leader of this team and respected as Dame is, if Dame doesn't have a problem with it, I don't see why anybody else on this team would have a problem with it or how that would be allowed to fly. So it's a situation where I don't believe that report that there was tension between the players and the front office. We've had a number of misleading or just blatantly false reports in regards to our organization in the past half a year. So I'm not believing that at all.
And yeah, after we talk about this press conference, I do want to talk about the Dame comments for just a minute too. But as Chris S. points out, last night Nas basically said that he is saying all those things to them in the locker room. It's nothing that he's calling them out in the press conference and they are taken aback by it. And Nas actually commented yesterday that he gives credit to Chauncey for believing in him and for some of his breakout this season is because of the opportunity that Chauncey's given him and that he's real with him and tells him exactly what he needs to improve on and doesn't sugarcoat it and stuff like that. So I think that's really, really good. And that's why I don't really care if he calls out people in the press conferences and stuff because, like you said, I know he's not saying anything. It's just like Dame. Dame says the same thing. Like I wouldn't like secretly demand a trade if I didn't tell that person to his face. So like when you hear, oh, he demanded that CJ be traded in 4 firsts for Ben Simmons, you know that's bullcrap because he wouldn't go to management and say that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's just I'm pretty confident with the management of this team right now. It's really hard to have faith in that considering all we've been through lately, but I think we're in good hands right now.
Yeah. The main part of this press conference that I really want to talk about is Joe Cronin, because I had never heard him speak before.
Yeah.
So this was my first impression of Joe Cronin, and he is very different than Olshey, to say the least.
Polar opposite.
Yeah, soft-spoken, a pretty soft voice.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just from everything I've heard, he's a great guy, and he comes across as a great guy. He comes across genuine. Like, yeah. I feel like you can tell when some people might be faking being a nice guy, or when a GM is at a press conference and they're just saying things and they're not necessarily like being themselves. Olshey was the king of that, right? I don't get that vibe from him at all. He impressed me today, but honestly, it's not like the bar was high, considering where it was left with the previous GM. It sounds like, here's the biggest takeaways. He's going to have the chance to win the GM job. He's going to have the authority to pursue deals and make trades. Mm-hmm. Now, trades have to be approved by ownership, so he has the ability to do what any normal GM for any team across the league would do. He's basically the GM right now, and he has no restrictions on what he can and can't do, it sounds like. So,
for the record, Olshey, like when he made trades, he had to clear those with ownership as well.
That's a normal thing. So yeah, he's a normal GM right now, and the ownership group hasn't yet really started conducting a search. So it sounds like they're giving Joe Cronin the chance to win the job before they go out and conduct a search. So I don't know if that'll change. I don't know how that will go. But at this point, I expect Joe Cronin to finish the season as the Blazers GM. And then depending on his performance, depending on what he can get done around the trade deadline, that will determine if he's the GM past this season or not. That's kind of my takeaway. And he did say that the roster needs to be improved, and he will improve it. So, I mean, maybe take that with a grain of salt, but that's a different tone than we heard from Olshey.
Yeah, for sure. And I kind of like his process, like the way he seems to think about things. And it's not like he's strictly analytics or strictly, feel or strictly evaluation. It seems like he takes a lot from a lot of different areas. And I also like that I thought that was a really good move by him. I mean, assuming he did it. I don't know why he would lie, but I guess I'm used to the previous GM. But I guess he went to a lot of the staff and just asked him what he can do to make them feel more comfortable and what they can improve on as, bosses and an organization to help accommodate everyone. So I thought that was a really good thing he said, that he actually is out there speaking with people, and hopefully he has a good relationship and we don't have any of the issues that we had in the past.
Yeah, I mean, he sounds like the right guy to fix the culture within the front office. Mm-hmm. And honestly, like, that's good, and I want that to happen. But, like, I mean, what can I even say about that? It
Right.
sounds like he's the right guy to fix that. Hopefully he does.
Yeah.
What I care most about is he able to turn this team into a winner? You know, a team that is he able to upgrade the roster? And I don't know, man. That remains to be seen. There's not a ton you can take away on that end from this press conference, from this conversation. It just sounds like he's willing to maybe take more of a chance than Olshey was willing to. So that's kind of my hope.
Hmm.
It's
Well,
just it's hard to read too much into that because ultimately, what's going to show if he's a guy that can make things happen or not is if he makes things happen or not. Like
yeah.
it's the action. There's nothing he can say in this conversation
Hmm.
that'll make me fully confident in him being a guy that will be able to make a big deal happen. We just have to wait and see on that.
And he did mention that whether he only has the job temporarily or if he has it for a long time, his goal is to leave the team and organization in better hands than when he started right now. So,
Hmm.
um, that to me signifies, I mean, I might be reading too much into it, but you don't want to like decimate by trading like four future firsts for Ben Simmons or like that might not necessarily be leaving the team in a better position. So I think he'll only make a trade if it makes sense. He's not going to make a trade just to make a trade now that he's a GM, you know. And so I'm hoping that uh, he takes his time. And I know that's not what anyone wants to hear. People want a trade to happen like tomorrow, but I think he's going to weigh all his options for at least a couple weeks before he like commits to going all in on, especially if it's a big move like trading CJ. Like that kind of thing probably won't be a rushed thing or something we overpay to get rid of CJ or anything like that.
Yeah. So, what were some of your other takeaways?
Well, so he mentioned he was asked about the cap situation, how he felt about their salary cap situation, and he said he felt really good about it because they didn't have any like negative contracts, which
Yeah.
I agree with. I mean, people might argue that CJ is a negative contract, but I mean, I think he still has trade value and stuff. So, I mean, it might not be to like a star level. You might have to attach assets to get a star, but it's not like we have to pay to get a team to take CJ. But yeah, I do agree with that. I wish someone would have followed up and asked him if the goal was to be out of the tax this year or not, because I would
Yeah.
have liked to hear his answer on that. And I wish someone with a little more knowledge of the CBA asked him the Damian Lillard question in a different way, where he couldn't just say, "Oh, I can't answer that," because we know he can't answer if he's going to offer Dame an extension. He'd get fined for tampering. Like, it's stupid, but the Milwaukee Bucks got fined for tampering because they said, "Of course we're going to offer Giannis the extension whenever, or the super max whenever he's available to have that," and they got fined like $50,000 or so, or $500,000, something like that, and so he can't answer that question.
Yeah.
So word it in a way like, say, I know you can't answer if you're going to offer him an extension, but is this a case where if Dame wants to be here for the rest of his career, are you willing to accommodate that, or is it the same for every player? It's like what's best for the team. So if you got an offer you couldn't refuse, and I don't wanted to see like kind of a pressure question like that. You know, it's instead we just let him off the hook with the, "Oh, I can't answer that," and he did, and then no one ever followed up on it, like
Hmm.
whether you feel like this team needs to rebuild or if it needs to build around Dame and CJ, or like it could have been a lot of I don't know. I didn't want them to be like a jerk to Joe or anything, but like I would have liked to just seen how he answered a couple of tougher questions and what he got.
Yeah, it would have been interesting to go more into potentially what his roster building philosophy was going to be, what he felt like the team was lacking from a skill set standpoint. There was a number of good questions that could have been asked that weren't, and that was another feeling I had after this press conference is you're asking him a question in a way where you should know he can't answer it because it's tampering, but there's a number of good questions that you're missing out on. So, it would have been nice to have had a media pass. DJ Vega says, do you guys think you could ever get a media pass? Maybe with a new GM. Maybe, but I'm not counting on it.
Because that's what, honestly, I would have asked him, one, what's your goal for the tax? Is this team comfortable being in the tax this season, or is one of your goals to both improve the team and get out of the tax? Would you ever consider dealing Dame, or is this a lifetime thing? And then, like you said, okay, you said this roster needs stuff. Can you go into depth on what exactly you think still needs to be improved with this roster, or what the type of players you would be looking for to improve this roster would be? And I felt like we kind of missed hearing any kind of insight. I mean, we got to know the guys pretty well, so that part was cool. But I didn't feel like they gave him any tough questions like that, which I would have liked to hear.
Yeah. But I mean, the temperament.
Right.
Just it feels better. It feels more relaxed. It feels like we are in better hands going forward from a coaching standpoint, from a GM standpoint. Dwayne Hankins was a part of it, but honestly, I don't even care to really talk about anything with him.
The only thing I'll say about Hankins was I still don't like their answers when it comes to Root Sports.
But what else is he supposed to say?
I know.
Don't have the power in that.
I mean, but we know it's on more TVs. More people have cable subscriptions with Root Sports. But stop saying that answer. I'm just, I know he hasn't specifically said that, but no one wants to hear that, right? They just want to hear. I'm glad he mentioned specifically YouTube TV and Hulu. Hopefully someday, those two options are actual options. But I don't know. I feel like the Blazers, ever since they moved to Comcast originally and now to Root Sports, I feel like they're just kind of taking this attitude it's up to them. There's nothing we can do, kind of, where he could have put some pressure on them and been like, hey, man, we want this to be on there, and they need to get a deal done so we can get this product out to more fans. And that would have been a great answer. But that was the only thing I had a problem with pretty much in the whole conference.
Yep. I don't really have any other takeaways on anything that was said. I don't know if you do. If not, we can move on.
I thought there was one other thing that Cronin said that I wanted to talk about, but I'm kind of drawing a blank. Does anyone in chat have anything you want us to talk about from the conference today?
Yeah, post in chat any quotes that we haven't talked about that you think we should. I don't have a full transcript here, and I don't have time to parse through all the words that were said in this thing. So if there's anything, let us know in chat. That's why it's good.
I remember what I was going to say. Chad Buchanan, who is someone who was an interim GM for a year, was here in this organization for a long time. He said he believed his first phone call when he got the job was just to chat with him. So that leads me to believe, I mean, I'm not saying a trade will happen with Indiana, but there definitely could be some discussions. So anyone from Indiana is probably a logical trade option, or three-team trade involving Indiana, maybe with pieces going to another. Those are definitely seem like opportunities now. I think we can put to bed the thing that Indiana might not ever trade with us.
Well, yeah, that's funny because you got a bunch of people in chat saying Miles Turner, Miles Turner.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe we can talk about that in a second.
Oh yeah. Thanks, Weezy. So he also talked about how, I mean, you used to mention this a lot early on in the season, right? It's like we've seen the floor and we've seen the ceiling now. It's just a matter of getting consistent. And so he actually said that he likes the ceiling. It looks really good. And he just needs to bring the floor up and get more consistently towards that ceiling. And so that was almost word for word what you said after a game earlier in the season.
Yeah. I mean, if he thinks like us, then I'm obviously going to like that. So that was a good quote.
And yeah, he also used the word needs to be creative with trades. I liked hearing that too.
Yeah. I mean, he said all the right things. He didn't say anything wrong, you know. But I like that. But I'm not going to put stock in him being a GM like, oh, he's a guy who can get creative until he actually pulls off some things that are creative. So it's still wait and see mode. I like everything that he said, but he's gonna have he's gonna have to take action, and he's going to have to prove himself through the actions, through the personnel, through the roster moves he makes. So that's what I'm waiting on.
Love you, Chiefin. God, you decided to trade me. Trade
you where?
I don't know. You could trade me for Brandon Sprague.
No. Neither of us would. I think I could handle that better than you could handle that.
That would
trade.
Be horrible for me. I would.
Somebody said we need to do like a collab just because of how much money we'd make off of it. We could probably sell pay-per-view if we did a collab.
Yeah.
We're being real. But yeah, no, not ever going to happen. Not gonna happen. Jack Ramsey's podcast would have to include multiple firsts in that trade. Yeah, I'd need a ton of firsts, man, to even not hang up the phone. But even then, Eric, they can't trade enough firsts for Eric, man. Eric's just that valuable.
Thanks, man.
Eric needs an extension. Eric for Ryan Hollins. Ryan Hollins would drive me crazy because he's like. Yeah, no, I'm not even going to go into Ryan Hollins, but Ryan Hollins would drive me crazy as well. What did you want to talk about after we talked about the press conference? You said you wanted to talk about something.
Yeah, I want to talk about the Dame thing, but one more thing about the conference is, so they mentioned Jody Allen several times, and everything they say, she's supportive, right? And she cares, and yeah, all that kind of stuff. And she goes to like pretty much every home game. She's there cheering them on. I don't know. It's weird because I think this is kind of like what I was saying about Olshey is like, because she never talks, people just assume she doesn't care.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's necessarily the case. So I think she could do a lot just by having a press conference and just letting us know how she feels about the team. And maybe she is uncertain about the future of it or whatever. Or maybe if she is like, no, I love owning the team. Like, I'm all in, like, whatever. Like, people would like to hear that maybe. But I mean, I don't think it's ever going to happen because she doesn't have to speak to anyone. But I would kind of like, especially since, there was an investigation, there's been all this turmoil, just kind of, it'd be nice to hear from the owner just at least once and see just what she's thinking long term and what she wants to do and all that kind of stuff. It would just be nice to hear from her. And I think that, again, just like what I said about Olshey, would do wonders for the like perception of this franchise right now. Just if we got our main people in more situations like they were in today, where it's just kind of a calm and cool setting, and we just talk about basketball and the team and the organization and stuff. So I'd like to just see that. Because if she doesn't want to sell, if she actually likes owning the team, I think, like all these people who say like, oh, she needs to sell, like in chat right now, or you see that online all the time, like she's just waiting to sell the team or that. Like, I don't know if that's true or not. I mean, all her actions kind of show otherwise, but I don't know. Like maybe she is just waiting for a new TV deal to get a payday or a new expansion fees or something to get payday from that. Get under the tax this year, get a huge payday for all the tax teams, especially like the Warriors and the Nets who are deep in the tax. But yeah, I just like to hear from her too, and maybe she should have been, maybe not the whole part of it today, but maybe a part of it, or have her own press conference, or just say something, especially in light of everything that's happened with the franchise.
Weirdly, I do not care to hear from her.
Yeah.
I saw Chet Dewing was ranting on Twitter about how we needed to hear from her and all this stuff, and honestly, I just don't. Nothing she has to say, I feel like I would really care about.
Yeah.
You know, like she's. Like, I feel like it would be public information if she was looking to sell the team. I don't think she's looking to sell the team. Like, I highly doubt in a press conference like this she would come out and say, yeah, I'm looking to sell the team. Like, I don't, like, I would expect her to sit here and say, no, I'm not looking to sell the team as of now. I don't know long term, like, you know, or I want to keep it long term. I don't know. I don't, I don't care, because it's like, what does she have to say that's going to affect the team? We have our GM, in my opinion, for the rest of the year. We have our coach. We have our CEO. We're trying to fix the culture. We've resolved a lot of issues. So at this point, I was just like, you know, I'm sure most people would disagree with me, and a lot of people would be curious of what she has to say. I just personally don't really care.
Like I said, I feel like this organization, I mean, today went a long way to maybe changing that, and hopefully it gets better in the future. But just the whole perception of ownership and the way things work and the way this organization is run, I just feel like if they just spoke about it every once in a while, it would ease a lot of those and maybe not have as much hatred towards the front office. And
well, I mean, I don't think there's any hatred towards the front office right now.
Well, I mean, not the front office, but there's still hatred towards ownership and
yeah. I just don't think there's anything she could say that would take that away.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like you said, if she's not like wanting to sell the team, if she truly does like owning it, I think her just saying that would go a long way to kind of ease some of those people, or like get rid of all those posts like, she doesn't care, like she needs to sell because she doesn't even like basketball or whatever. Like, I hear that all the time still, even though I don't think that makes sense.
Yeah,
completely.
But she comes out and says, I don't want to sell, and it's, she just wants to make money off the team, that's why she won't sell, because she doesn't care. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, there's always going to be a narrative. Like, there's nothing she can say to stop people from saying the narrative they want. It's like she shows up to every freaking game, and you think she doesn't care. She's rich AF. Okay? She's super rich. Alright? She could be doing a number of cool things that not an everyday person could just go out and do. But she's choosing to go to Blazer games when the team is just bleh right now. She's still going and showing up. So obviously, she at least cares a little bit if she's doing that instead of all the other things that she could be doing. Obviously, she cares enough to show up. Like, that's... I mean, so the people saying that she doesn't care, it's like, why is she going to games then? It doesn't make sense to me.
And she went to that game the night before Olshey got fired, and, Quick's yelling questions at her. Mm-hmm. She says no comment or whatever, but she still went and showed up, so...
Yeah. But, like... Her wanting to duck the tax this year does not mean she doesn't want to win, okay? Because, you still have to...
There are ramifications moving forward, yeah.
Yeah, there are, severe financial ramifications in future years if we're in the tax this year, because it triggers the repeater tax next year. So it's not just about ducking the tax and getting a tax payout this year, it's you don't want to be paying like millions of dollars of tax, of repeater tax in following years. So overall, it's a situation where like you can't run the business into the ground to win. And I'm not saying that's what would happen, but if you're right on the cusp of being in the luxury tax this year, of course you're going to try and duck it. Now, you know, you also want to try and improve the team, so I think that's the directive to the GM.
Yeah.
Find a deal that ducks the tax and improves the team, and it's possible.
That's part
it's
of being
like
creative.
It's not like we're $10 million into the luxury tax and they're going to have to trade a Robert Covington to Boston for nothing because they have a traded player exception that can absorb them. It's not a situation like that. We're, what, you said $3 million above? Right?
Yeah, about
$3 million above the luxury tax?
Yep.
That's very possible, especially once you start dealing with higher salaried players. It's very possible to structure things in a way where you can save some money because, I mean, you have no problem matching, and the other team has no problem matching. When you're dealing with $20-30 million, a $3 million difference, the salaries still match because it's on a percentage basis. So, yeah, I don't think that the organization trying to duck the luxury tax says that she doesn't care or she doesn't want to win at all. It's just, it's a smart financial decision, and they should duck the luxury tax given the financial repercussions that they'd face in future years.
But if we made a big trade, like let's say we got Ben Simmons or something, but we like added salary to our team, and we're like $7 million in the tax or something after the trade, I think that also shows that she cares too. So, like, I kind of get his point, but at the same time, yeah, your way doesn't mean she doesn't care either. Just like 2 years ago when we were like right at the tax line, or actually both. Well, 2 years ago we were slightly over the tax. We trade Scal to get a little less tax right at the deadline. We don't sign a 15th player all year, even though we have like 8 people hurt. So that was a little crazy, but we're still a tax team. We still had the highest salary in the league that year, and we're a below 500 team. So like, why would she want to pay more money for a below 500 team? And I think the next year was the same way. It was like, okay, we're right at the tax line. If we are playing really well at the trade deadline and need to go into the tax because we have a good opportunity to get a great player that could put us over the top, I'm cool with that. But if we're hovering around 500, once again, we were last year at the trade deadline, we made a trade, but we actually saved a little bit in salary, I think, at the end of that. So, yeah, it didn't end up costing us going into the tax or anything. So I think like the decisions would be different, like especially right now, if we're, 15-10 or something instead of 11-15, it might be different. Like if we're winning. So the last 3 years, I don't think the team has done good enough to warrant her just saying, okay, do whatever you want, go into the tax. So I think you need to kind of think about that when we're talking about, oh, should she go into the tax or not? Like,
yeah. Well, here's my question for you. If you were the owner of this team, Eric, and had all the money she did, would you want to duck the tax?
I would want to duck the tax, but only if it was one of those situations. Like if we trade Rocco and CJ for Ben Simmons and we end up under the tax, that's fine with me. That's good, right? So that's what I would be thinking of as a GM. Like, how can we both duck the tax and improve the team or whatever? So that's the kind of stuff I would be looking at. I wouldn't say like, oh, we have to duck the tax or we don't. But like 2 years ago,
I'm not asking if you would say you'd have to. Just right. Would you want to? Like, would you care about that? Because yes. I personally, you guys know I really want the team to win. I would definitely want to duck the tax. That doesn't mean that I don't want the team to win.
See,
but like if I was the owner in that financial situation, I absolutely would.
See, but that's the thing. If you're a good GM, you should be able to do both. Yeah, especially with how close, like you said, we are right now. So you should be able to pull off a big trade. And I mentioned this that was one of the other reasons why I was so mad we didn't trade Whiteside 2 years ago, is because we had a chance to completely duck the tax that year had we traded him for someone who was just making a couple million less, right? It could just have been like him for Nick Batum or something, and we would have ducked the tax, right? And I mean, I don't know exactly. I'm just saying, like, something like that. And um, we may have gotten under that tax, and then we wouldn't, if we were in the tax this year, we wouldn't be the repeater tax, right? So um, it would have had a trickle down effect to this year and next year if we had managed to do that. And that was the other reason I didn't really initially like the Trevor Ariza trade, is because there were several other trades where if you combine Bazemore and Whiteside as expiring contracts, it would have been super easy to get out of the tax that year. We should have been able to do it somehow. So I think that was another failure by Olshey. And I mean, for those who think I never said anything wrong with Olshey, go watch the streams from the trade deadline that day. I like ranted for hours. We had 2 streams that day. One of them was like a 7-hour stream, and then we had a post-game show where we talked about Olshey's comments before the game that were just after our stream, and then I just went off on Olshey. So I think that's where it started. Our cap situation got messed up from not trading Whiteside. I understand why we didn't, looking back, like, Nurk has a setback and isn't ready to play when he was supposed to be. Collins went down, which sucks because he could have been our temporary center even if Nurk had a setback. But yeah, I think it all stems back to that point for me with the tax. So going back to your original question, I don't know. I don't think I would have been in this position where we would be having to care if we were in the tax or not, because I don't think I would have been in the luxury tax the last few years if I was the owner all this time. But if I just started being the owner today, I would probably want them to bring in a star and get under the tax.
Yeah. Shout out to Grayson Placence, $5 dono, says moved to Oregon from Texas in 2015. Quickly became a diehard Blazer fan with zero knowledge about basketball. You guys have taught me a lot. Keep it up. Appreciate you, Grayson.
Hey, thanks,
Glad
Grayson.
we can help in your basketball education.
That's really nice to hear, too. Thank you.
Yeah. So, anything else from this press conference or about Dame that you want to talk about? Or, well, let me read this dono first. From Near012, we got $5 dono. Says, I just meant if she came out and said she's willing to pay the tax to put a winning product on the floor, that would shut up the haters she has. I mean,
but
she doesn't have.
Go ahead. You can go ahead.
I mean, she doesn't have to shut up the haters. Like, what the people hating on her, what do they mean to her?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, they don't matter. Like, it's not affecting anything, really. Like, if people were saying, oh, she doesn't want to win enough, like, what, that doesn't affect her. And I guarantee you she's not sitting here on Twitter reading Twitter constantly. You know what I'm saying? So, like, shoot, there is a chance that she doesn't even know that people say that about her. And if they do, she probably doesn't care. So that's the thing where it's like, I don't blame her for not talking, really. Like, she has to put in the right people in charge to fix this situation. I think that she's done that. Joe Cronin seems like the right guy for this job. So overall, that's where I'm sitting at with this.
Yeah, and so like I just got done saying, I think the problem is it hasn't been a winning product. So she's been told by her GM that it is a winning product and don't worry, and it hasn't materialized. And then he said, it's coaching, which, we agreed with for the most part. But, like, so far, why should she pay more money to this team when everything she's been told up until this point has not worked out the way she's been told it is? And like I just got done saying as well, going into the tax doesn't necessarily make you a smart owner or a smart GM or anything like that. I actually think you're a better GM if you can build a good team without going into the tax. And I mean, if you want to keep all your talent eventually, you have to go in the tax. But Like, I don't think it's a case of you only care if you go into the tax or pay as much money as
Yeah.
possible, and you don't if you get out of the tax.
Yep. I don't know. We don't have time to talk about trades. Somebody has to talk about trades. We don't got time for that. Did you want to talk about? Did you say everything you wanted to say about Dame, or what was
No,
that
I
one?
just Dame. Just a quick rant.
Okay.
Uh, People are acting like this contract extension is a bad thing, right? And first of all, he's not. If he signs an extension, it's not, or he asks for an extension, it's not because he knows Portland can't give him that contract, and it's he's gonna force his way out that way by making us like turn down his offer and all this stuff. Like, that's dumb. Um, Dame wants to be here. If he signs that extension, he can't be traded for 6 months. Um, and so, to me, if it's true that he wants to be extended another 2 years, that not only means that he won't ask for a trade this year, but he can't be traded pretty much all of next year. And you could actually say, hey, we will for sure offer you this, but how about we sign it on August 10th or whatever 6 months, the day after 6 months before the trade deadline is. And then you guarantee that Dame cannot be traded next year. So all of next year, too, we could say, hey, Dame is not even tradable. So all these stupid fans like Stephen A. Smith, they're saying that he's going to request a trade to the Knicks or Henry Abbott or whatever. You could just say right away, you're stupid. Dame can't even be traded this year, and then that would be the end of the discussion. So he would be here for 2 more years, guaranteed, no matter what. And I think that's a good thing. And I I don't understand people who say we can't afford it or the cap. Dude, I don't want to pick on you near 012, but I saw you in here earlier saying we should wait to sign free agents or something like that before we offer him the contract, because then we could go over the cap. This doesn't even take place until like 2025 through 2027, so it's not something that'll affect the cap anytime soon. And on top of that, it's based on the supermax is, I think, 40% of the salary cap, right? So his salary is not, it's not like right now you'll be paying him 55 million or whatever, and it's uh you know taking up 80% of the cap or whatever. Like, he he is, if he signs it those years, it'll be the same percentage of the salary cap that he's making right now. It'll just be whatever the salary cap is that year, right? So it's not a case where we can't do anything if we sign into that contract. And then the other thing is, oh, he's going to be 35 and 36 those 2 years. I don't care, dude. Like, that guy earned the money. He has earned the money. Like, give him, pay him. I don't care. And you might think, I don't know. I haven't even talked to Tori about this, so he might think differently than what I'm saying right now. But if that guy wants to be in Portland, wants to sign an extension to be here 2 more years at the end of his contract, let him sign it. Like, I mean, I don't know. It's crazy to me that people think that's a bad thing.
I mean, you just ride off into the sunset and you pay the man. You know,
Yep.
$57 million 6 years from now is not the same as $57 million now. The salary cap's going to be a lot bigger.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a shock factor now, but it's not. You have to remember this is coming years from now. It just shows me he wants to stay. And I mean, you pay him it. You know, even if he might not, his production might not be to that level, his loyalty and what he's brought to this community and to this organization over all his time here makes it worth it. So you absolutely do pay him that. And here's the thing, people that want to blow it up and rebuild, I mean, there's a better than 50-50 chance that we don't get any further than we've gotten with Dame anyway from a rebuild, and then we have to rebuild again.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And there's a solid chance that, oh, if we got a star, the first chance they'd get, they'd leave Portland. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of things that can go around with hitting the reset and whatever. So if we're just talking about paying Damian Lillard 2 years at the end of his career, pay him it. I don't care. Like, give him the money. Let him retire a Blazer, even if we don't win a championship. I mean, that's one of the next best things, to have a superstar that embraces the city like he does, that embraces the community like he does, that's, somebody like Dame, to be able to have him be with the organization for the entire career, a Blazer for life, that means something. So if you're like, it's unlikely that we win a championship with him, and it's unlikely that if we started a rebuild today, that rebuild would result in a championship. Winning championships are hard, especially when you don't get the privilege that the Los Angeles Lakers do, where you can just sign two superstars after being trashed for 10 years or whatever. So overall, you pay him, and you hope he retires a Blazer. And if that's what he wants, cool. That's what I want.
Yep. And here's the other thing. How old was Chris Paul last year?
Like 36.
Yeah. So we're talking about people act like Dame will be washed by then. I mean, yeah, it's hard to imagine he'd be worth $55 million or whatever playing up to that level. Like, if he's being paid one of the highest in the league, he's probably not going to be like top 10 player still at 36. But we saw last year, they almost won the championship. They made it to the finals, were up 2-0, and could have easily won that series. So it's not a case where we can't still build around him. So I saw a question in chat, like, but how can we do that? We're in the same exact position now as we would be then. Like I said, it takes up the same exact percentage of the salary cap. So it matters how you build the team around him. It doesn't matter what he's making. It's always mattered how you add those pieces around him. And that would start by, if you trade him for, let's say it's for Ben Simmons or whatever, or trade CJ for Ben Simmons, and you get a guy who's in his mid-20s, or even his late 20s, and he's under contract for several more years, then you have that piece either to trade in the future when he's an expiring contract, or to grow with him and hopefully win a championship, and then you add secondary pieces around that. But this is never going to be a case where, because even if, let's say Dame accepted, he's like, I don't want to take $55 million, I'll sign for $30 million. It's not like we're going to sign Kevin Durant or something that offseason. Like, we're never signing a big time free agent. It's never really happened here in Portland. So, like, I don't understand why it matters if we have only the mid-level exception. We couldn't even sign someone to the tax mid-level exception. Like, we had one big contract to offer people, and we couldn't even get one person to sign here this offseason. So I don't understand why people think like it matters how much Dame makes. And the other thing is, too, basketball is pretty much the only game where, out of the three major sports, where players are restricted on how much they can make for the maximum amount. And you see these baseball contracts, you see NFL contracts. Obviously the NFL ones aren't all fully guaranteed, but the quarterbacks get a ton of guaranteed money, and the best players in the league get huge amounts of money. And it just matters like how much a team's willing to pay. They still have a salary cap in football, but you can pay a player whatever you want. Whereas in basketball, you get what you get. So max contract, there's a set limit to what you can make. And LeBron's been worth way more than what he's paid his career. All these stars have been worth more to their teams than they've made in their career. Damian Lillard has meant more to the Blazers than any amount of money we could pay him under the salary cap. So pay him whatever he wants. Let him be a lifelong Blazer if he wants to be. And I just don't think that's bad. And I would not, even if the Thunder called today and offered every single first-round pick they could in the future, like 15 of them, I would still say no.
Yep.
And that's someone who I like rebuilding. I like young teams. I like having fun and thinking about all the picks. Like, if I was a Thunder fan, I wouldn't really care that we suck this year, because it would be kind of fun knowing that you have all those picks in the future. But I still wouldn't do it in this situation. I would be loyal to Dame, and I think he deserves that after everything he's done for us.
Yeah, I agree. Anything else you want to talk about?
Nope.
Alrighty. I gotta run, so we will wrap up the stream. Sorry that. Hopefully, we'll have more time to talk about trade stuff in future streams. The trade deadline still is 2 months away, so we're not in any rush here. We will catch you Sunday on the postgame show after Blazers Timberwolves. We have 2 days off, and then we'll have that post-game show. So rare that we're able to get 2 days off from streaming. Eric's gonna go on a vacation. I'm gonna work. So hopefully you enjoy 3 days without Blazer basketball. And we will catch you again on Sunday. Until then, go ahead.
Just let you know that since I'll be at the game, Section 307, come party with us. I might be a little late for the stream too, so just let everyone know.
For the post game, yeah, I'll go live right when I get home, and then
It takes
Eric
me a
will
little.
grab you later.
Yeah.
So yeah, my audio is low. Trevin was complaining about Eric coming through my headphones because my mic was too loud. So I don't know what to do. But yeah, I'm wrapping up the stream anyway. We'll catch you guys on Sunday after the Timberwolves game. That stream will be going live about 30 minutes after the game. Most likely it's going to be a little bit later since I got to get home. So until then, I hope you have a good weekend. We will catch you on Sunday. Until then, as always, peace out. Go Blazers.